Hi Emma, hope you're doing well today. This is our third reading lesson for our book Arctic Animals. And before we read through our book, I'd like to go ahead and review our vocabulary words, our animal words, and then we are just going to read through our book. After we review our vocabulary and read through our book, we are going to work on a worksheet that looks like this. So I'd like for you to go ahead and get that out and have it ready. You'll also need your book, so go ahead and get that out. And you will need two different highlighters again. So we're going to put those aside, but we'll have them ready. But what I want to do is review our vocabulary together. So let's read them together, and then I'm going to have you practice them on your own. I'm going to start with the word animals and move straight across. Here we go. Animals live, antlers, hunt, turn, cold, packs, Arctic, they. All right, now you try it on your own. When I point to the word, or when I point to it, when I point to the word, I want you to say it. Here we go. Excellent job. All right, I'm going to pick these cards up, and the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to review our animals. Okay, I'm going to pull it on the screen. Hopefully you can see that. All right, how do you pronounce that word, Emma? Did you say orca? Orcas? Good job. That's the one that we learned about, the orca whales. What about, hang on, let me fix that card. What about this one? Can you read that one for Miss Pam? Polar bears. Very good. What about this one? It's the one where the animal's fur is white as a pup, but then it changes. Harp seals. Excellent. This particular animal fights with its antlers. Do you remember how to pronounce that one? Moose. This animal also has antlers, and they're excellent swimmers. Caribou. You recognize this one? Wolves. Wolves. Foxes. What about this one? It's the very first one that we learned about. Hares. That's right. And our last one is on the cover. What do we call that? A snowy owl. Snowy owls. So all of those animals we know live in the Arctic. Okay, so let's go ahead and read through our book. And we'll read through it together. Let's go through I can't even talk today, Emma. Let's read our title together. Arctic Animals. Okay. Arctic animals. And let's read our focus question down here. Which animals live in the Arctic? And yesterday we talked about how that was the main idea, or is the main idea of our story. Our story is about animals that live in the Arctic. And then you had the opportunity to write all of the animals that support that main idea, the animals that live in the Arctic. All right, are you ready to read through? Here we go. Some animals live in cold places. The Arctic is one of the coldest places on Earth. Hares live in the Arctic. They turn white in the winter. I just love that picture. I think it's so cute. Page 5. Snowy owls live in the Arctic. They hunt in the day. That's pretty unusual because most owls hunt at night, but these are different in the Arctic. They hunt during the day. It's amazing how different God made all of these animals to live in certain areas of our world. Here we go. And I also love this little picture. I think it's so cute. Foxes live in the Arctic. They have thick fur. Wolves live in the Arctic. They hunt in packs. Caribou live in the Arctic. They are good swimmers. Moose live in the Arctic. They fight with their antlers. Harp seals live in the Arctic. They have white fur as pups. Orcas live in the Arctic. They hunt many sea animals. Page 12. Polar bears live in the Arctic. Moms stay with their cubs for years. The end. All right, Emma, good job. I sure wish I could hear that beautiful reading voice of yours. Maybe if you get a chance, your mom can video you reading a couple of pages and send it to me. I would love that. All right, so I need your eyes to be up on the computer screen because now we're going to talk a little bit about a skill. Monday we talked about, Tuesday we talked about, what was it? Oh, the main idea and the details. We talked about that. And today we are going to talk about the two parts of a sentence, which we've already learned about. Now, let's review what a declarative sentence is. Now, we learned that back in our grammar, think back in our little grammar books, the very first thing we learned about, we learned that a declarative sentence is a sentence that has a capital letter and an end mark, but it has two parts. Do you remember what those two parts are? That's right. A declarative sentence has a naming part. Okay, and you don't have to write this. You can just follow along on the computer. It has a naming part and it has a telling part. And I think we did an assignment together last week or a week and a half ago. I can't remember if it was last week or not, where you had to underline the naming part and a telling part. I'm so sorry, Emma. I've been writing and you haven't been able to see this. So a declarative sentence has a naming part and a telling part. That means it has to have a complete thought. Now, usually in our naming part, that's where we find our nouns. The person, place, or thing. It's usually who or what is doing something. The telling part, we usually find our verbs, our action words. So the naming part is the who or the what the sentence is about, and the telling part is the part that shows the action. It tells what the person or something is doing. Okay, so we've talked a lot about this in grammar. So what I want to do is just do a couple of review sentences with you, and then we're going to do some sentences together. Now, the yellow strips that you see Miss Pam putting down on her whiteboard are going to represent the first part of a declarative sentence, which would be the naming part. Okay, so if you would look at where my finger is, we're going to read the very first one. It says, my teacher. Can you say that? My teacher. The second part is my mom. And the third one is my dad. Now, these phrases represent the naming part of a sentence. Okay, so if I were to ask you, who are we talking about in this phrase? That's right, your teacher. Okay, what if I asked you, who are we talking about in this phrase? That's right, your mom. And what about this one? Your dad, exactly. So the yellow strips are going to represent the naming part of a sentence. Now, Miss Pam is going to put the telling part strip down. I'm going to make sure you can see this, so give me just a second. And blue. So the blue strip is going to represent the telling part. So what Miss Pam has done is I've added the telling part to create a complete declarative sentence. So let's take a look at the words on the blue strip. Look where Miss Pam is pointing. I'm going to read that to you. hugs me every day. Okay? Hugs me every day. That is telling you what the teacher is doing. So that's the telling part. And think about this, Emma. Hugging, the word hugs is your verb. That's an action. This strip says cooks dinner. This is the telling part of the sentence because it's telling what your mom is doing. She's cooking the dinner. Cook would be your verb. That would be your action word. Down here in this strip it says loves me. That's the telling part. It's telling what your dad does. All right, so here's what I want to do. I'm going to read through this sentence and then you're going to read it with me. Okay, our first declarative sentence. My teacher hugs me every day. So we know it's a declarative sentence because it has a capital and a period. It has a naming part and a telling part, and it has a complete thought. So if I were to ask you who this sentence is about, what would you say, Emma? That's right. It's about the teacher. And what is the teacher doing? That's right. Hugs me every day. That's your telling part. Okay, let's read number 2. My mom cooks dinner. Okay, what's our naming part of our sentence? Who is our sentence about? You're right, your mom. And what is this sentence telling us that your mom is doing? That's right, cooks dinner. And your last one, let's read together. My dad loves me. Who is the sentence about? It's about your dad, that's right. And the telling part is that he what? Loves me. Very good. So the naming part is at the beginning. The telling part is at the end of your sentence. So those are just some more examples of declarative sentences that show us the naming part and telling part. Now we're going to do a little bit of independent work with our worksheet. The first thing I want you to do is go ahead and get your worksheet out and put your name on it. And then I want you to get out 2 highlighters. But don't highlight anything yet. All right. So the instructions are going to be different, okay? Miss Hannah wanted you to do something different, so we're not going to follow these instructions. The instructions that I'm going to give you are what we just did together. We are going to read each of our sentences, and then we're either going to, if you don't want to use highlighters, you can use colored pencils, doesn't matter. We're going to highlight the naming part in one color and the telling part in another color. So we're going to do a few together. So what I want us to do is read these sentences. Now they are right from the book, so you shouldn't have any problem reading them, but we'll read them together. Sentence number 1. Let's read it. Caribou live in the Arctic. Okay, let's read it one more time. Caribou live in the Arctic. Now, get one of your highlighters. And if I were to ask you, what is this sentence about? What animal would you say? That's right, caribou. So we're going to highlight the naming part in one color. And Miss Pam's going to use yellow. You can use what you want. And then what is the sentence telling us about the caribou? Yes, exactly, that they live in the Arctic. So we're going to highlight the telling part in another color. So we know that the naming part is who or what the sentence is about. The telling part is telling us about the who or the what. Okay, you want to do number 2 together? All right, let's put our highlighters down. Number 2. They are good swimmers. Now there's that pronoun, okay? 1 and 2 go together. They stands for what animal? That's right, caribou. We learned that in our book, that they live in the Arctic and they are good swimmers. So who are we talking about? They, which actually stands for caribou. So the pronoun they is our naming part. And what are they telling us about the caribou? Yeah, they're good swimmers. Very good, Emma. So we're going to highlight our good swimmers in a different color. All right, let's do number 3 and 4 together. Let's read number 3. Moose live in the Arctic. What is our sentence about? That's right, the moose. So I'm going to highlight the moose in the same color that I used in the naming part for 1 and 2. And what are they telling us about the moose? It's that phrase. Exactly, that they live in the Arctic. All right, let's look at number 4. Now remember, these go together. 1 and 2 go together, and 3 and 4 go together. Moose live in the Arctic. Number 4. They fight with their antlers. So there's that pronoun they. And what do? They fight with their antlers. So what is the naming part? Who is the sentence, or what is the sentence about? They. That's right. And they is the pronoun that stands for the word moose. And then we're going to highlight fight with their antlers in the other color to remind us that that is the telling part. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to finish numbers 5, 6, 7, and 8 on your own, and make sure your name's on it. You're going to highlight the naming part in one color and the telling part in another. And then I want you to put that worksheet in your packet. All right, Miss Emma, I will see you tomorrow. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks for being such a good listener. Bye-bye.